Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnekins. Joining us today, Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike, as we talk about the school board meeting from Wednesday and also the budget and all of that. And Superintendent Doverspike, thanks for joining us this morning. And some good news, I guess, for the budget. Once again, it's balanced.
Yeah, for the seventh year in a row, we were able to balance the budget. Something that was not the norm for a while is now the norm, become the norm here of a balanced budget. So it's always good when you can balance your budget, no matter what level of government you are. So we were able to balance it.
Were you surprised that you were able to balance it? Because right now we're seeing things suddenly going up in price, like fuel, obviously, electricity, potentially wages, health insurance, and all of that, but you were able to kind of make this work?
Yeah, typically we put some extra money into some of those areas that you just mentioned with the utilities, because you're never really sure what the utilities are going to do on any given year. You're not going to sure if you're going to have a cold winter or a moderate winter, so that stuff can play with some of that. And we also with our gas, we work hard with a independent contractor to lock our prices early. We actually buy our gas on the open market. So that's able to lock in at least the basis price, which is the price for the transportation of it. So that really helps us out in that regard. So, and then we, depending upon the year, which we're in the process of doing right now, looking at locking in our prices throughout the winter, which are a portion of them, which is really similar to what, people that have LP do. You buy the gas in the summer and lock in the price for the winter. And we're no different than that. We're also doing that, which, it doesn't save us huge money on any given year, but it saves us money every year. And any money, a dollar is a dollar. A dollar saved is a dollar. So, we're able to save usually a couple $1,000s a year doing that. So it helps.
Talking with the Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike this morning. Now, the tax levy did go up, but the mill rate went down.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
This is this confusing school board or school funding formula and all this other stuff. How does that work?
Well, it went down for a couple of reasons, and it's I guess it went down partially because our tax or our equalized value in the district went up $39 million. So the values of the property went up. So the tax per $1,000 of property went down, because everybody's property conceivably is worth more. Now that gets divided out based on your township and your individual property. It doesn't equate equally across everybody in the district. It varies based on your address or your municipality. But for the most part, property values in the district went up. Dunn County, especially, the property values went up. So therefore, the tax burden is fairly similar to what it was last year, but the mill rate is down because your property is worth more. So that penny is spread out over a larger amount, basically. The other thing that kind of complicates it is when we were originally doing our estimating, our budgeting, our thought process, we had our pupil count below 1,000, which qualified us for sparsity aid, a new sparsity aid that the legislature just passed, which is $100 per pupil for those between 750 and 1,000 that have so many kids per square mile, or one kid per 10 square mile, kind of a concept, that you're sparse, and which we qualify for. But our enrollment this year actually went above 1,000, so we no longer qualified for that. But the increase in pupil count we had increased the revenue limit, which therefore the increased revenue limit was equal to what we lost in the sparsity aid. So our budget in the end is basically what we were projecting it to be. But the difference is it's what I'm calling a short-term loss for the taxpayers, long-term gain for everybody, and that you always want your pupil count to be going up because it helps. But our pupil count went up, so that money that it went up over what we were projecting because of the aid formula, A plus B equals C. C is the revenue limit. A is equalized or aid. B is the tax levy. Because that then gets spread out between the taxpayer and the state for for the aid, the taxpayer had to pick up a portion of that money that our revenue limit went up because of the increased enrollment. Therefore, the mill rate, the levy had to go up. Kind of a complicated concept, but basically we had a good thing. Our enrollment went up, but on the short term, it was a bad thing because our levy had to go up a little bit more than what we were anticipating because of that. But in the end, it'll be a good thing for us.
Tell me Mr. Rosemeyer isn't teaching school aid formulas in his math class, because my word, you need I think you need a college degree to try and figure this out.
Yeah, I don't even know if anybody fully understands the aid formula, but we just understand what impacts it can have on your bottom dollar. So our enrollment went up, therefore our revenue limit went up, therefore the levy went up, and the aid we received from the state went up.
Now the student count being over 1,000, that is a milestone here for the district, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've been over 1,000. We have not been over 1,000 in the 10 years that I've been here. So our pupil count going up is a good thing for us. I don't know if we were anticipating it going up quite this much. We still thought we'd be just below 1,000, which was kind of our target. Because of the impact that has on that sparsity category, but we actually went over 1,000. We're up to, with the summer school count, we're up to 1,020 kids, 1020. 1007 was our September FTE count. So that went up, which is, like a good thing. And we knew it would go up some, like I said, because we had 3 small graduating classes in a row that we've been kind of monitoring, for quite a while now. And the last graduating class graduated last year, the last small class. So now we're kind of back in where I would think we are, which is in that 70 to 85 range of average graduating class. The last year was the last of our classes in the mid 50s. It hurts the enrollment.
Sure. And now is some of this also attributed to because of some of the infrastructure we have in the district, i.e. the high-speed internet from different providers? We're attracting new families from a Menominee or an Eau Claire or even the Twin Cities because mom and dad really prefer to work from home and they can do that here.
Yeah, I think we are seeing a lot more move-ins, and it seems like more and more year we seem to get more and more kids every year moving in August. Usually mid-August is an extremely busy time for both the elementary and the high school office as kids are moving in and, people are registering at that time. And I do agree with you. I've said, I think one of the outcomes of the pandemic is going to be that large corporate America in the urban areas are going to realize they don't need to have high-rise expensive cubicle floors where they have a not large number of people working in a cubicle. That one of the outcomes of the pandemic is they learn that people can work from home. And I think that's going to give opportunities for people to move into more rural areas like Durand that have quality high-speed internet. Cost of living is less, housing is less than in the urban areas or the suburban areas. It's not a difficult drive if you had to get into the corporate headquarters for a meeting for a day a week or a day a month or whatever. Quality schools, quality way of life, recreational opportunities, I think, and proximity to cultural centers that you can still get into, an athletic event in the cities or a concert or whatever it is you want to do. Our proximity is good. So I think we do have a tremendous opportunity as a community, as a county, as a location to take advantage of that. And that's something that I know the school district has been trying to work with others on, trying to make more people aware of the quality of life in this community.
Talking with Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike this morning from the regular board meeting, some changes to the Safe Return to School program. What's going to be some of those changes?
Really one subtle change. When we made the change a couple of weeks ago, we always talked about masking for 7 days and what we really meant by it, and it didn't get articulated properly, which I take the responsibility of, is what we really meant to say is a student has to mask. So what happens now, theoretically, starting over, is a parent has to decide what of the 3 options they want their child to do. Is it the 7-day, the 10-day, or the 14-day option? 7-day option is you have to test on day 6 or 7. If you have a negative test, everything's back to normal on day 8. 10-day option is you're asymptomatic. You don't need to test. Just if you're fine after 10 days, day 11, you're back to normal. Then 14 is the proverbial what the CDC has gone with since day 1. What we're saying is a parent is going to pick which of those 3 options they want, and then their child can still come back on day 1 with a mask. It's just if you want your child out of a mask on day 8, they need to test on day 6 or 7. If you don't want your child to test, they can get out of a mask on day 11. So it's just trying to streamline everything into more of a cohesive pattern. We're trying to, it sounds more complicated, I think, than it really is. We're trying to just make it, first you need to make this decision, then this decision becomes your other option.
I know at the prior month's school board meeting, there was talk about this rapid test, and the district was going to try and get trained to do that. Where are we at with that?
We actually have training scheduled next week. We had our onboarding call finally this week with our company, and we have training next week. And then after training, we will be set. We have our CLIA waiver came in, which makes us a certified lab to test. So we'll be up and running on testing here in the next week or two. Probably next week is training, late next week. I look for it the following week. And then we'll have to get some information out to families as we get closer to that point, because families will then have to sign a waiver that will allow us to test. And then we still need consent every time we test the child. But instead of having written consent, it can just be a verbal consent if we have the form on file, and the form is good for a year. So we're finalizing that process right now as we speak. That's actually on my agenda here the next 2 days to get that kind of finalized, and we'll be ready to go, and we can start testing kids. Those kids that maybe are symptomatic, we can do a rapid test instead of having the parents maybe come and get them and take them up to the hospital for a test. Or those kids that want to get out of a mask on day 6 or 7, we can do the test here instead of having to go to the hospital to do it. So it's going to provide us some opportunities here to make things a little bit easier for families.
Finally, the board also wanting to do some, I guess, changes for the internet security for the students. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're looking at, in the past, we've had a Dino, it's called. It's a software that allows our teachers to basically monitor what each kid is on their Chromebook on a given period at a given time. We're looking to change to a company called Aristotle, which is a step up from Dino. So we'll be able to get rid of that. And it still does the same thing as the previous vendor, but it also adds a new layer where we can monitor for keywords that a kid might search for. A student might search for a keyword like suicide or how to harm yourself or something like that. If that keyword search happens, then select individuals will be notified via email about it, and then we can then follow up with that child just to check to make sure that everything is okay, and that they're, whether or not the search was legit, in which case then we can provide services for it, or if it was part of something else. But it just gives us another opportunity to try to help meet the needs of our kids and try to stop things before they happen, because we don't want to have stuff like that happen. And it also gives us a chance to monitor what our kids are every keystroke they make. We're not going to monitor this. It's not like we're going to have somebody sitting there every day doing it. But if something were to happen, it's a lot easier process for us to figure out what happened than what our current process is.
Durand, Arkansas School Superintendent Greg Doverspike. You're listening to Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN.